I did vote for Donald Trump.
You have to admit, I set that up perfectly for you guys.
You voted for him. How are you feeling about that vote now?
Now I feel like what I did for this is like I never did my vote for a guy who is kidnap people.
I mean, yeah, you actually did. What do you think these signs meant during the rallies and everything? Did you think the word mas meant masa, as in the dough?
And this is like I feel like stupid because I see that around here, and there is all everybody's scared.
And whose vote helped contributed to this to make everyone scared? It's you.
My brother and his friend, they went to church 9 in the morning in Fullerton, St. Joseph Catholic Church. So they stopped by here to buy something for breakfast. They went to the ATM Chase Bank, and they arrested outside there.
Oh, Sergio, it sounds like your brother needs to find a new brother because you voted against his interests and safety.
And my brother told me they took more people. They didn't ask anything, say, oh, you're a citizen, and they refused to talk, and then they basically pulling out from the car.
I mean, Sergio, you did vote for this, so...
But still, it's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare.
A nightmare that you helped cause, you...
We have criminals. I get it. Go get them. We don't want criminals here. We don't want criminals. And I don't know, the guy from the store maybe told you the same. If I know criminal people, I call ICE. I do by myself. I don't want these people here. If I know some guy who is doing illegal things, drugs or whatever, selling drugs or robbery or whatever, I'm going to do that. Call ICE. Because I don't want the people in my neighborhood.
Well, I mean, would you actually call ICE? Would you trust their judgment now that you've seen that they're taking people like your brother?
No.
Probably the best thing that you could do for yourself, since you're probably going to get racially profiled if you call them. Oh, Sergio, were you hoping that the leopards would not come and eat your face, but in actuality they did? And since I did bring up the leopards, I have a very special announcement that I need to make about them. Today, in America, 5 out of 6 leopards face a terrible future. They've grown too fat from all of the faces they've eaten. Even though they could not foresee this many would willingly let them feast. For just a low cost of $10 a day, this will allow us to deliver critical Ozempic shots to this neglected and vulnerable population. If you rush your gift today, we'll send you this exclusive I did not vote for this tote bag and t-shirt, along with a photo of a leopard that you've helped. Please, find it in your heart and consider donating today. But anyway, Sergio, have the day you voted for. Bye!
Donald Trump. I ain't got a lot of y'all there right there. It still was a bop. I would vote for Donald Trump. I would vote for Donald Trump.
Anyway, Sergio.
I would vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God. I would vote. I would vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Listen, okay. So let's get into topic 1. Let's do like a little bit of FOFO. I've been asleep, took me a little nap, and I said I'm gonna get them bug out and see what the hell y'all doing. So that's what I'm doing. Let me do a little sound check. But yeah, so I'm gonna get up and bug out because y'all ain't doing nothing. It sound pretty decent. Let me turn down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's go down to this little line. I just picked out FAF. You know, TikTok, baby. You know, we can go down and scroll. Let's go see what else going on. Let's go be nosy.
You know what's one of the funniest videos that I have seen on TikTok this week? It's the video with MSNBC when he went and asked the reporter asked the red hat people if the country was great again.
Again? No, not at all. Well, you know, I can get laid off tomorrow, then I'm pretty much homeless. Because, you know, you can't save now. Every dollar you have has to go to gas, groceries, bills, rent.
Does America feel great again?
Not in the way everyone wanted, with gas prices and You just can't afford to breathe at this point.
What does it feel like to be living in these conditions right now, in these economic conditions right now?
Hurt, very hurt. I try to do, sorry, I cry. I try to do a lot for my kids, and I can't do much.
It's hard, especially as a father.
Did you hear when she said
That
not
extra
how
cash to go
everyone
and
thought it would
spoil
be?
your kids.
I guess she meant everyone in Ohio. And I'm trying to figure out, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Because your children was standing right there. There are families who lost their kids. There are families who got split up. There are children that are sitting in detention centers getting raped by the Proud Boys. There are people who lost family members due to unaliving unnecessarily. But you're crying and you're complaining about not having extra money to spoil your kids. There are kids who aren't eating right now because SNAP has either been taken away from their household or decreased to such a ridiculous amount that they can't even buy a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk together.
Yep.
I know someone whose SNAP benefits.
And I would tell you like this, I gotta go. So today, what I'm doing is later on today, it's like 3:30 a.m. DC time. Later on today, I'm going grocery shopping today because I'm gonna do like a little bit of like a soul food cook-off blog today later on my other channel. So I'm not expecting anything good from, I'm not expecting anything good from, going to the grocery store because I already know it's going to be at least $200 and I ain't going to get them probably 6 items.
It's $12 a month now. What can they do with $12 a month? And they're disabled. There are kids now coming on social media talking about their financial aid and the lack thereof, not being able to go to college. That big, beautiful bill. And what about the food? Everything that's going on with the food now, the recall of the eggs, the recall of the lettuce, and all of that, because they cut people's jobs at the FDA. You think you're feeling it now? Oh, it's still a lot more FAFO to come.
Yep.
And don't let me get started on the military and what they've been saying with the lack of leadership and how we are running out of weaponry. You think you can't breathe now, sweetheart? You better go and find you a hospital with an oxygen tank. But then again, you probably can't afford health insurance. So instead of crying from people, give yourself a pat on the back, because this was everything that you voted for.
Yeah, and of course, what I'm saying, it continues. Trump had been saying for a long time, I'm going to bring the cost of eggs down. I'm going to bring the cost of food down. I'm going to bring the cost of this down. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He ain't did shit. Okay. The only thing about it was groceries are now 33% up. 33% up. You know what I'm saying? Well, how can you not look at that and say something wrong? You know what I'm saying? Hell no.
Child, y'all done got me back on here on Beyonce's good internet, because according to the Mad King, the economy is doing well. Inflation is down, gas is $2 a gallon, grocery
Right. I
prices is
heard this.
down.
I heard this the other day. Like Trump was on the internet. Not on the internet, but he was at some event. But it pretty much his 2028 campaign rally, because he run for president again. And I keep on telling y'all, people be saying, "Oh, he ain't gonna do that. He just talking. He just talking." Let me tell you one thing about Trump. That bitch don't ever just talk. You know what I'm saying? One thing about him is he might say it sarcastically, or you might not take him serious, but Trump is serious about everything he motherfucking say. Okay? He is always serious about it. So I don't believe that he running for real.
Manufacturing jobs are coming back. Now, I don't know what delusional world he lives in, but we live here in reality. So let's see what the people on the streets are talking about.
Does America feel great again?
No, not at all.
You said nope, not at all.
You know, I can get laid off tomorrow, then I'm pretty much homeless. 'Cause,
Yep.
you know, you can't save now. Every dollar you have has to go to gas, groceries, bills, rent.
Does America feel great again?
Not in the way everyone wanted, with gas prices, and you can't afford to breathe at this point.
What does it feel like to be living in these conditions right now, in these economic conditions right now?
Hurt, very hurt. I try to do, sorry, I cried. I try to do a lot for my kids, and I can't do much.
It's hard, especially as a father, because you ain't got that extra cash to go and spoil your kids. So it's pretty difficult.
The middle class is definitely being affected. Yeah. Low class might as well, crawl in a hole because they can't afford anything.
Really?
Drill, baby, drill just didn't go, I don't think.
You
Still can't beat inflation, no matter what.
Now, somebody up there in DC need to let the Mad King know that the streets are saying it ain't that out
Right.
here. They saying it's hard. They saying they can't even take their children to the water park this summer to have a day of fun and relaxation. They out here grinding every day.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, America is not on its way to being great again. But hey, November the 5th, 2024, you had a choice. And something tells me that the people in this video voted for the Mad King. So may you have the day you voted for, and in the words of that great poet Glorilla, let him cook.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is fucking true. You got to be vote for too. I was having a conversation earlier to come tell y'all this. Okay, I was having a conversation earlier, and I was telling one of my family members that a lot of times we play into this whole role of religion and God and this and that, and I was just saying, telling that person earlier, like, I don't see it for for us as a people, as Black people, as a whole, if we're literally trying to serve the same God as our oppressors, because as you look at it, a lot of times they be on that same bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of times, they always feel like they're really, really, God led. I ain't lying. They feel like, that God led, that this their job, it's their duty. And that ain't the goddamn truth. It just don't be the truth. It just not be the truth. It does not be the truth. So yeah, that's that for for that. I wanted to see what else is going on around here on the internet, because everything be going on. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. So this is on my For You page. Let me show y'all this. Let's get into this one. Let's see what she's talking about. She's talking about the Nolan Wells case. Let's see what she's talking about.
Video that I've made about Nolan Wells inexplicably is not eligible for the For You page. And that's not including the 3 videos that they took down. So let's talk about what I talked about in this. Go back and watch the video I posted yesterday for more details. The party that night was allegedly at this girl's house that I will call Ava D. Right here in the yellow is where the party was at. You could almost perfectly plot out every dock that they stopped at on this little trip of theirs before they went to the boat dock. I also discovered that Lieutenant Patrick Carone, the very first report after Nolan's mom called in, someone that he is related to apparently married into Ava D's family, allegedly. But like I said in my last video, I show my work. I also discovered that Warren's mother apparently had a birthday party just weeks before Nolan's disappearance that was attended not only by the D family, but the mayor of Ocean Springs. Do y'all remember the girl whose name was given to the police, and they went and they questioned her, and she said that she was on a completely different island and hadn't seen Nolan in a year? Well, I found a picture of her from last 4th of July I'm not going to tell you which one of these girls is her, but I bring up 4th of July because does anybody recognize something here? Well, I don't know about you guys, but that looks like the same swimsuit to me and the same hair color. Not necessarily the same person. I'm not saying that two people can't own the same swimsuit, but that's a bit coincidental for me. She also appears to be wearing the same tiny gold necklace. What this means, I don't know. But I think Crump's team needs to find her. And I spent hours the other day going through these people's pages, trying to get a feel for the social connection. I can tell you with certainty that Katie is not a part of this crowd. Her family is not affluent. And not only that, it seems like her mother is going through something very bad health-wise. I'm not going to get into details on that. She is visibly sick or visibly recovering. And let's not forget that these people are all doctors. I also want to say, while I was going through all of these people's pages, I went through like 30 kids' pictures. There is not a single video, not a single picture of Nolan with any of these kids. Y'all are best friends, y'all are buddies, but there's not a single picture of them. And to be clear, I'm definitely rattling some cages because they are clearly watching my page, because yesterday, after I posted the video, suddenly several of the matriarchs of these families didn't make their friends list public anymore.
I like her. You know what I'm saying? She's been digging really deep into the case as well. You know what I'm saying? I've been having my own thoughts on it, but let's go around here and see what else going on. Let's see what this is.
So let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Nolan Wells went missing on July 4th, and his body was found on July 6th. And now, on August 7th, his so-called friends, Warren and Jax, decide that they're going to do their own investigation over a month later to try to figure out what happened to Nolan Wells. And they decide to visit Horn Island with their lawyers. And while they're there, someone snaps a candid photo and then sends that photo to TMZ that the boys were just an emotional wreck because they were back at the place where they last saw their friend.
You know what? Now, I thank you for this update. Thank you for this update, brother. But, you know, let me tell you something. That is full of shit. You know why they out there crying now? Because when they went out there with Brandon Beal and Bitch Tatum, when they went out there with him, see what had happened was when they went out there, they ain't had no tears. They ain't have a handkerchief or a piece of tissue, a wet wipe, or nothing that would dry a tear off their eye. Now, me, I have lost someone extremely close to me before, and I'm telling you, that feeling itself was horrific. I cried, I screamed. You would have, you know, it was, you know, apparent or something, because this, but for them to say, oh, he my best friend, and for you to go back to the spot where, you know, he was found the first time, you ain't had no tears. And, you know, they watching social media. They hear these folks out here talking about this stuff. And they heard them folks talking about that they didn't have no emotions and how cold it was. So now all of a sudden he come these crocodile ass tears before court start.
Nolan Wells. Now, here's my thing. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Warren already visit the last place that Nolan Wells was seen with Officer Big Bad Body Built? I'm confused, and we can see no emotions in an interview or during his little field trip. But they say that Nolan Wells was a brother to them, and they're just good old Ocean Spring boys. What?
It sounds
And let's
great.
not forget
Sounds
that
racist.
Warren's stepmother, Judge Ashley Cole, was the first one to try to put out a statement to tell us about his whereabouts on the day that Nolan went missing. And then, in addition to that, his father has finally decided, after they announced that the autopsy in Mississippi was complete, he announces to TMZ that he's putting a $50,000 reward out for any information about what happened to Nolan Wells. A month later. A month later. At this point, between TMZ telling us a bunch of nothing and the antics and the show that is being put on, they have to think that we don't got no sense. They can't think that we smart enough to see through smoke and mirrors.
Alert from the Don Lemon Show newsroom, and we have another big update in the Nolan Wells case. The young men who were with Nolan on that boat.
Now, this is Don Lemon, as we all know. Now, Don Lemon been under some real scrutiny lately. Dunn, you gotta tighten up because the church said you ain't acting right. You about to lose your deacon license. You have to end up getting put on the back row. We ain't gonna put you at the church, but you definitely get put on the back row. Because the last church you went to, they put you out. And they tried to reach you for it too. But see, our church, we ain't gonna discriminate. We're gonna let you stay inside the church, but your ass, you fucking up the church's money. But see, Dunn had went around now. See, what Dunn has been doing is Dunn, he really started to flip flop a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He want to go with this. He started to go to this part of where it sounds like, for black people that's hearing him and black people that's criticizing him, it's starting to sound like all lives matter. All lives matter. And that shit it don't matter to motherfucking us.
Have now hired a high-profile defense attorney, signaling their intent to vigorously fight this case and the accusations being made against them. The attorney is who has represented Donald Trump in his legal case involving CBS and Paramount and New York Times and BBC legal cases. Now, their choice in legal representation is raising some eyebrows. And as I said before, one thing is becoming clear. This case is no longer being fought only in the investigation. It's being fought in the court of public opinion. Every new lawyer, every interview, every public statement, it shapes how people see this case. We're going to keep following the facts and bringing you every single update. For the full story, check out.
Yeah, Dunn. Just make sure that you keep a tight line, because the other day you had folks all across YouTube really mad at you the other day because you really had a flip flop like, well, we don't know. But I'm not sure if it's to keep his own ass safe. I'm not that big. I don't know. So I'm not sure he's trying to keep his own ass safe because it could be people threatening him with lawsuits. It could be he's scared of losing his channel or whatever. Because no YT people, they'll come after you with them real threats now. They come after you as Karen, especially when it comes to their kids, baby. They will Karenize your ass.
Bro, Nolan Wells' friends are literally putting on the worst I'm innocent campaign of all time. Bro, like every move them boys are making, them and their families are making, are the wrong move. Like bro, if this is how you guys look, okay, one of two things are happening here. All right, either these guys did it, okay, and they are the worst killers of all time, right? They're the worst.
Thank you, brother. I don't want to see him use too many words on it, because how they get on. Listen, we already got demonetized. We'll be trying to lose no page over no bull. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing it. Listen, let's go down this little rabbit hole right quick. So just to give you a heads up of what I'm talking about. So a lot of big part of me, if you don't not know me to know me, is that I came up born and raised in the church. Born and raised, set apart, because they think they can say set apart because anything I was set apart because I was gay, but it's saying being set apart. Now, mind you, at my full raising of my experience is that people always tried to be like, well, no matter what I did, no matter what I said, no matter how it went, no matter how I calculated, I was always going to be gay and I'm always going to heal. You know what I'm saying? It's just what the fuck it is. And it's okay. I'm not mad about that part. You know what I'm saying? That's how you feel. I feel like my duty is here to be different. To be able to spread the word and to be able to let you know that some of y'all motherfuckers ain't this religion ain't doing it for y'all, because at the end of the day, it's not helping us with voting rights. It's not helping us, and we're a small percentage of the population. And I don't think sometimes as black people we realize it would be going on. And so I believe in God Himself for what it is, spirituality wise. You can call me more of a spiritualist, I guess, in a way, but I wouldn't really cloak the name Christian, because these Christians ain't got no damn sense. And when you look into it, the first time they holler they Christian, I watch my back, because they'll be the ones right there you got to really be careful and clutch your pearls with. But anyway, as I get into this, I want to go down to some things about what people been saying about. It's been like a thing I've been watching and kind of like, relating to, if you don't know, like going down this rabbit hole of like deconstruction of Christianity. And you should hear some of the stuff people be saying. Let's catch them on some new stuff though.
The reason I made this account is because I'm pissed off at Christianity, and I'm pissed off because I grew up in the faith. I was raised by extremely religious
here.
parents, and I went to extremely religious fundamental churches my whole life. I'm mad at it because I was brainwashed, and it took me, 24 years to get to the point where I was like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. But
Wow.
the people before me, like the people that are older than me that walked into Christianity by themselves without being raised in it, pastors, like anybody that believes it, like without being raised in it or without being brainwashed into it. Well, it's like everybody is brainwashed into it, but like the people that choose to go into it, I think make me the most upset, like especially like my parents, because I'm like, they chose to believe this stuff and now I was trapped in it and I had to find my way out. And like it was so hard to do, and I had to put up with like the rejection of like people in the church, and like they villainized me and my family, like freaked out when I tried to tell them that I didn't believe in God. And like I've had discourse with my pastors about it, and they've accused me of like falling into sin and going away from God. And I've told them, I was like, I don't believe in God. I don't need you to pray for me, and like I'm not sinning. I don't believe, and it's not my fault. But I'm just like, it just makes me mad that I was born into it and I have to go through all this shit to leave it. And like Christians, like a lot of people don't really understand that, or they're just like, oh, it's so good to believe in God and believe in Christ. No, it's fucking not. You have to
No.
believe that we're fundamentally bad people and that we deserve hell inherently by being born into this world. And that unless we like love Jesus and love God for like saving us from our sin, which like what the fuck, like how does sin even exist? Like everything, all of it is bullshit, and I'm so mad that no one's fucking paying attention. Like read the book, look around at the world, and think about whether or not that book is right, because it's fucking not right.
Now, I can say this about what he just said, right? Just from my experience. I'm not an atheist, not by a long shot at all. And I would say, I think for Black people, I think we have a lot of deconstruction to be doing, because at the end of the day, like you can ask certain Black people certain things about. You can say the slave Bible. You can make reference to that we weren't allowed to read until the 1900s. You can make reference into like 1800s at 1900 we weren't allowed to read. You could look into that. That the other day I did a story on a lady about, she was talking about lynchings and ritualistic things, and how these people that they condone and they say that slavery and things like that are okay. And us as a Black people, yes, we can hold on to that for so long, but I get tired of hearing people say they've been praying for 90 years or 80 years and 100 years. They've been praying and holding on to God, something change a hand, and ain't shit changed. Something gotta change up in here. Let's go to the next one.
Constructing a faith belief that you once held dear is one of the most painful things you'll ever go through. Nobody who's deconstructing a faith that they held with passion and sincerity is excited or happy about going through a process of deconstruction. The deconstruction becomes necessary because as a truth seeker, you start to see the inconsistencies and you just can't ignore them. For folks who are not in that place, they can see deconstruction as just rebellion. It's more like being dragged to the slaughter, because everything that you once held dear is now up in question. And what's funny is people who are deconstructing are trying to turn it off.
Right.
We go through all kinds of hermeneutical gymnastics to try to stay rooted where you were. Even something scary enough like the idea of hell might keep you in pocket for a little while. But then, like me, you realize you never believed in a God that drowned his creation. You never believed in a God that's gonna eternally torment people while other people are living in bliss. Like, you never even believed in that kind of God.
I can say, I was saying earlier, check this out, I was saying this earlier. Like somebody was telling me, like, well, what they were saying something about God, oh, God is it, he's not, he's this and he's that. I said, no, baby, you gotta go look into that Old Testament God. See, you fooling with that New Testament God, but see, that Old Testament God, baby, he wasn't no joke. Old Testament God would take you. He burned, flooded, everything like that. He was a jealous God. He says these things, and then this thing is like, you telling me that that for us as black people, we get into this thing of like, we have a bad thing of holding on to, you know, bisexual, straight, trans, this. And I think for me, I'd be like, the issues are way fucking bigger than us holding on to a patriarchal and hand-me-down Christianity. When the thing is, yes, some things are in it are very valuable, very learnable, very good for morals and mortality and stuff like that. But it's not good. It's not good because you got to look at the basis of it. Just being honest, take what's good for you and leave the rest. Like a lot of it kept us in slavery because they wanted to keep us humble.
Question: if Eve was Adam's wife,
Mhm.
made of his rib, then where the heck did Lilith come from? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't the same rib.
What?
This is a question for the Christians. Are y'all God-fearing or more so hell-fearing? Because it's giving. Y'all do know that the point of Christianity is to never challenge the system. Just comply and never ask questions. Y'all do know that, right? Like,
She ain't lying.
I could never.
She ain't lying, man. She ain't lying. Hold
My
on.
last question for now. Matthew 6:14-15,
My
I'm going
God.
to paraphrase.
Mm.
But God commands that we forgive others who do us wrong, right?
Mhm.
As a Scorpio, I could never. But if we don't forgive the people or the person that does us wrong, then he won't forgive us for our sins. So my question is, why won't he just forgive Lucifer? I mean, what kind of role model is that?
You Christians crack me up with y'all's quote-unquote logic. You truly believe that the God who created this fallen world and everything and everyone in it is somehow going to create a new world that is
That girl here, she be going tough in on people.
totally perfect. You realize he hasn't succeeded in creating anything perfect up to this point, right? He created Earth, said it was good, and then all of a sudden it's not perfect anymore. He created the humans, not perfect from the beginning. He created heaven, not perfect because there was literally a rebellion that happened in heaven where the angels rebelled and left. He created the devil himself, not perfect. So if Earth isn't perfect and he created Earth, if humans aren't perfect and he created humans, if heaven isn't perfect and he created heaven, what makes you think that this new world is going to be perfect in any way?
And I like her. You know what I'm saying? She a little tough on her, but I like her too. But you know what I'm saying? My whole point of being is that, you know, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of it, you know, you can pray so much. What gets me is a lot of times they be hollering, they be telling black folks, you know, to forgive, turn the other cheek. And a lot of times you gotta just be realistic as being a black person. How do you hear that and you like I don't get it. You have to understand you are not a Christian first. We weren't Christian first. Excuse me, we're black first. You know, I'm not gay first. I'm not anything. I'm black first. I'm a black, then I'm a man, then I'm gay. Then Christianism, everything is come behind it. It's just the fact of what it is. And Christianity taught us to be very submissive, very forgiving, and it didn't get us reparations. You know, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King couldn't take that out there to go get that signed couldn't get that signed. The 14th Amendment showed enough didn't do it for us as well, because at the end of the day, if it's that case, they should have gave us reparations, correct?
Especially because
That's
the
what I was
fallen
saying.
people
How to Deconstruct Christianity, Part 5. All right, so now we're in the book of Exodus, and we left
There we
off in Egypt because Joseph settled his family there. And Exodus is really the story of how one big family, descending from Abraham, becomes a nation, the nation of Israel. Like, this is where it all begins. Quick note, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So when we talk about the Israelites, we're just talking about Jacob's descendants. Just like if it were me, you'd be calling my descendants the Amberites. All right, so to make Exodus super simple to follow, we're going to divide it into two major parts. So the first major part is the deliverance, and it's going to consist of enslavement of the Israelites in Egypt and the deliverance of the Israelites out of Egypt. And then the second major part is going to be the covenant, and it's going to consist of the laws being given to Moses on Mount Sinai, and then the disobedience of the Israelites on the way. So Joseph eventually dies, and a brand new Pharaoh comes to power. The Israelites continue to multiply. The Pharaoh sees their overpopulation as a threat, And so he enslaves the Israelites. And one of the things that Pharaoh does to control the population of the Israelites is he orders the murder of every baby boy that's born. Insert Moses. So Moses' mother tries to protect him by putting him in a basket on the Nile River. And it just so happens that the Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses and ends up adopting him into the Pharaoh's household. Fast forward, and Moses is now an adult. He ends up killing a Egyptian who was beaten on a Hebrew slave. So then he ends up fleeing to a place called Midian. And it is here where he will have an encounter with God, and God will call him to go back to Egypt and lead the Israelites out of slavery. Why does God call Moses? Well, remember the promise that God made to Abraham when he told him he would have many descendants that would inhabit the land? Well, Moses is a descendant of Abraham. So when God heard the Israelites calling out to him, he remembered his promise. So Moses confronts Pharaoh, and Pharaoh repeatedly refuses to let the Israelites go. Not necessarily by choice. We'll talk about that in another video. So in response, God sends 10 plagues upon Egypt, culminating in the final plague, which is the death of all firstborn children. Now, you ever wonder where the Passover celebration came from? When God was going to kill every firstborn in Egypt, he told the Israelites to slaughter a lamb and spread their blood on the front of their door. That way, when God was coming through Egypt, he would see the blood on their door and pass over it, sparing the Israelite firstborn. So Pharaoh finally lets them leave after this final plague because his firstborn child dies as well. And they cross over the Red Sea and leave Egypt for good. All right, so that's the first half, the deliverance. Now we get into the second half, the covenant. So the Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai, where God enters a covenant with them. In the ancient world, covenants were formal agreements that established relationships and obligations. In fact, scholars have noticed the similarities between Israel's covenant with God at Mount Sinai and a formal, legally binding covenant in the ancient Near East known as the Suzerainty Treaty. The Suzerainty Treaty was a covenant between a powerful king and a weaker nation, where the powerful king would offer protection and favor in exchange for the weaker nation's total loyalty, tribute, and obedience. Now, God enters a covenant with his people by giving them the 10 Commandments, also known as the Decalogue, as well as the Covenant Code, which is just more laws that follow the 10 Commandments. And these are all actually written in the same structural format as the suzerainty treaties. Think of God as the king offering protection and favor to the weaker nation, which is Israel, in exchange for the Israelites' loyalty and obedience. That's why these laws become such a major focus. So the 10 Commandments are mostly absolute commands, like you shall not murder. And these absolute commands are known as apodictic laws. And they mostly say, don't do this or don't do that. It's also important to note that Commandments 1 through 4 relate primarily with Israel's relationship to God, while 5 through 10 relate primarily with their relationships with other people. The Covenant Code, on the other hand, are laws that are made up of mostly case laws. So they say things like, if someone does this, then this should happen. And these if-then laws are known as casuistic laws. Okay, back to the story. So Moses is at the top of Mount Sinai, receiving these laws from God for 40 days. And the Israelites are at the bottom of the mountain waiting for him to return, getting anxious. So they make a golden calf in Yahweh's name and begin worshiping it. And this breaks the covenant as soon as it's established. Remember the commandment about worshiping no idols. So, of course, Yahweh is pissed, and he at first wants to kill all the Israelites except for Moses, and he just wants to start over with Moses. But Moses calms them down, and they continue their travels through the wilderness to the promised land. And then the rest of Exodus focuses on God's instructions for them to build the tabernacle, which is just a portable sanctuary where God's presence would dwell amongst the Israelites as they journeyed through the wilderness. And that's actually how Exodus ends, with God's presence filling the tabernacle. Oh, now you know how the descendants of Abraham became the nation of Israel, why scholars compare God's covenant at Mount Sinai with ancient suzerainty treaties, that the 10 Commandments are actually just the beginning of a much larger body of law, the Covenant Code, and the difference between apodictic and casuistic laws. Now, there is a lot to this story in Exodus between how God is portrayed to all the laws and which ones Christians are supposed to be following today, which ones are not supposed to. But that'll be covered in another video. Just know that first we learn the text, then we talk about what it means.
There's nothing wrong with abolishing the Republican Jesus or the Democrat Jesus. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that conflation of conservatism and Christianity. Neither side has a true kingdom agenda. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with abolishing that. But once you abolish the scriptures, well, now you're cherry picking to where, again, you want his love, but you don't want his lordship. So I just want to encourage people to...
No, and no. I can't stand dudes like this. These right here be the first ones you got to watch out for. They'll take your tax money, your car keys, your credit score, and screw all of it up. It won't have shit to show for it because of how the fuck they think. Now, the thing is, you can say and say what you want to say about them scriptures and this and that. Now, I believe differently because a lot of times they tell you those scriptures, but at the same time, they're raccoons. You know what I'm saying? And they'll feed you that because they want you to have obedience to, we gotta be obedient. Because see, why is they heaven on earth and why is our heaven in mansions up there in heaven? Why my mansion ain't here on earth? Why my mansion can't be on earth and my mansion gotta be in heaven? You know, I gotta wait then. I gotta suffer, cry, beg, plead, pray for God to change something. It's gonna take more than God in 2026. It's gonna be us that save us this time. That's all I'm saying.
come back to him, like rather than deconstruct.
If you think you've not been brainwashed by Christianity, listen to this. In the Bible, you read that the devil is a thief, right? He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Correct?
And that's exactly.
You know what I've been wondering? So Christians,
when people say, oh, ever since I left Christianity or religion, my life has just been so good. Well, duh, because you sided with the enemy. He ain't got to do nothing no more, baby. He already done got you. Why would he continue to attack you if you are already on his side?
Now, check this out right here, though. Check this out. This is what I be saying right here. I can't stand people like this because these be the first big mouth, big tooth, round head ass bitches. They be the first ones that be hollering, God, 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 God. We need to just pray. And then they have homophobia. They have transphobia. They have black phobia. And I'm the same people who serving your same God, okay? Because you sure ain't doing the representation for the people, whatever the hell you're doing, you ain't showing the representation. But the same God that we serve, you know, I know it's a difference. Trust me, this goes deep. But at the same time, you be the main one hollering. At the same time, you be the main one with homophobia and putting all of your own black people in hell. And you will listen to a white man over your black brother because he's gay or somebody else is trans. And it just gags me because you ain't got no God and you know damn way.
There's no need for that.
So back when I was a very devout Christian and I was a youth leader, I hosted a Bible study. I was very heavily involved in ministry in general.
Mm-hmm.
I constantly lived in fear because I so heavily believed in the spiritual realm. I thought that the devil was constantly out to get me whenever I was, experiencing anxiety or frustration, any kind of negative feeling. It was directly tied to the devil. It was the enemy attacking me. And it got to a point where I was actually very afraid of things.
I'm gonna tell you this right here a lot of times. I'm gonna tell you what I learned of my own self. Sometimes it ain't the devil, it's just you. It ain't the devil, it's just you. Sometimes you get in your own damn way. I've got it my own damn way. I've tripped over my own feet, my own foot, pinky, and big toe many times. You know why? Because of my own issues. You know, I had to fix me. Yes, I do feel like things can. I feel like, you know, bad things can come, and you know, the devil will try to use it. But you can't blame everything on that. Sometimes people, that's a quick blame. You know, when they go and do something wrong, then they be like, oh, the devil made me do it. No, bitch, you did that. The devil ain't made you do shit. It's exactly what you was doing on your own contingency, your own thing, your own thought. Mm-hmm.
afraid of even sleeping in the dark because I knew that the devil was very much real. And I knew that I was a constant target for him because I was a Christian. And that's the thing about the human brain, right? When we feed it such a specific narrative time and time again, it starts to kind of like build your perception, and that starts becoming your reality.
It
What you
does.
think and what you tell yourself over and over again eventually becomes your truth. But now here's what happened when I deconstructed and I left the Christian faith, as well as this whole idea that the enemy was constantly out to get me. The fear was gone. And it wasn't because I was now a part of his team, contrary to popular belief. It was because he never existed. The only time where he quote unquote existed in my life was when I gave him the attention, when I gave him the platform in my life, if that makes sense. And I was constantly thinking that this
A lot of
creature.
times they really allow the devil to be using them. Like this girl I be seeing on here on YouTube. She got these real big teeth, no edges, and all she do is spit, holler, and complain. And she homophobic and transphobic. And 1 minute she's spiritual, next minute she ain't God, the next minute the devil this, the devil that. And us being 12-13% of the population, I think we have more bigger fish to fry. Because girl, we served it. It's just you take it's ruining so much, as in the thought of it becomes like a psychosis to the point where you so deep you can't see nothing above the water. You can't see nothing above water, nothing at all above water. Everything is God, 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 and you the most ignorant motherfucker it is.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm a fully deconstructed evangelical pastor. I used to teach a lot of things that I don't believe anymore. So let me try to make up for some of the big ones by setting the record straight. This is what I've come to. You weren't sinful from birth. There's no evidence of that. I've seen babies, they seem fine. This is a dogma that developed. It's sort of even hard to get from the Bible. It had developed over time. You are not.
And honestly, just to be real with you, I don't think that black people can go to hell. To be honest with you, I ain't lying. I don't feel like no gay black person, no gay black person, and no trans person of that's black. I don't know about my melanated cousins, but I don't feel like we can go to hell anyway. If it is a hell, I don't think we can go, because it is no atrocity, no sin greater than what slavery did to our people. And if you telling me that they gonna tell us that we going to hell after slavery, child, girl, I listen to these white folks.
Evil.
Because they know the truth. They tell you when they do it on no justice.
You do not need a blood sacrifice to make you okay with God or the universe. This isn't our.
Do you want to know why? Question.
That's all hood. Everything else.
If you think you've not been brain.
My thesis statement for this video is that the Christian God is an ancient egregore, and if we were to stop worshiping this ancient egregore, he would simply just disappear into thin air. Let's go. So first off, what is an egregore? Well, an egregore is a concept from occultism and psychology. It's a thought form or collective consciousness created by a group's focused belief and energy. So basically, if enough people believe in something and they give it power through ritual, through worship, and through devotion, it takes on a life of its own. An example of this is national identity. So America as an idea, it's a thought form, or even corporate brands. We have people who will defend Apple and Nike like a religion. Political movements, and also other gods. The idea is that gods aren't external beings who exist independently.
Then we were just hearing about how God is a jealous God, and he doesn't like idol gods and stuff like that. And they make idol gods all the damn time. They don't want to put their idol gods up to really understand they don't want to use their brain. They don't want to use their brain.
They're created by human belief and sustained by human worship. So when people stop believing, the God loses power. So now let's talk about Yahweh himself. He started off as this regional war god. He wasn't always the one true God. Early evidence suggests that Yahweh was originally just a regional storm god in ancient Canaan, and that he was associated with mountains, with storms, and with war. He was one god among many in the ancient Near Eastern pantheon. Early Israelites were polytheistic, meaning that there was archaeological evidence that shows Israelites worshipped multiple gods. Yahweh had a consort who was Asherah. She was a goddess, and there were inscriptions were found that said Yahweh and his Asherah. And then over time, Yahweh worship became exclusive. So the Israelites turned into monotheism, meaning they just worshiped one God among many. And then prophets and priests pushed for this Yahweh only worship. Other gods are demoted to false gods or demons. And then Asherah, they just erased her. So then after the Babylonian exile, Judaism solidified around exclusive Yahweh worship. The Torah was compiled and edited during and after this particular period. So Christianity inherited this view of God. Jesus. My thesis statement for this video is that the Christian God is an ancient egregore, storm god in ancient Canaan, that shows Israelites worshipped multiple gods. Yahweh had a consort who was Asherah. She was a goddess, and there were inscriptions were found that said Yahweh and his Asherah. And then over time, Yahweh worship became exclusive. So the Israelites turned into monotheism, meaning they just worshipped one God among many. And then prophets and priests pushed for this Yahweh only worship. Other gods are demoted to false gods or demons. And then Asherah, they just erased her. So then after the Babylonian exile, Judaism solidified around exclusive Yahweh worship. The Torah was compiled and edited during. So Christianity inherited this view of God. Jesus was Jewish, worshiping Yahweh. Early Christians were Jews who believed Jesus was the Messiah. And then Christianity is essentially Jewish theology extended to non-Jews, the Gentiles. So Christianity is built on this Jewish theology of Yahweh, the Torah, prophets, the Messiah concept, and it is sustained by collective belief and ritual because we have prayer and worship and we have sacraments. And then Yahweh is given power by billions of people's devotion from over 2,000 years. And like any egregore, it doesn't need to work in the material world to sustain itself. It just needs people to keep believing. So even when prayers are not answered, even when God just doesn't show up, even when the promises don't materialize, as long as people keep moving the goalposts, that God works in mysterious ways, that your reward is in heaven, this egregore survives.
Right.
So now let's talk about what happens if you were to stop worshiping Yahweh. There are biblical scholars like Walter Burkert and Pascal Boyer who have studied function as cognitive and social entities. So the short answer from this framework of the egregore is that a deity's existence as a living force in a culture is sustained by worship, ritual, attention, and belief. So when those stop, the deity doesn't so much as die as become inert. So it's a historical artifact rather than an active present. Now, we do have historical examples worth looking at. So, for example, we have the gods of ancient Mesopotamia, like Marduk and Ishtar. These were once the most powerful deities in the ancient world, with elaborate temple systems and priesthoods and devotional economies. So when the cultures that sustained them were conquered and dispersed, those gods didn't transfer. They became characters in texts that scholars study rather than forces that people actually petition. So the Egyptian pantheon actually follows that similar thing. You have Ra, Osiris, Isis. These were once sustained by one of the most elaborate religious systems in human history. The Christian conquest of Egypt and the closing of the last Egyptian temples in the 5th and 6th century, it effectively ended their active existence as worshipped beings. So again, an egregore is sustained by collective belief, attention, and emotional investment. If you remove those, the thought form dissipates. It doesn't have independent existence outside the community that generates. Now, I could take it a step further and say that we have been worshiping the egregore of white supremacy dressed as God. I don't know if y'all ready for that conversation. Let me know in the comments if you want a part 2.
I like her. Let's go over here, baby. Let me follow her. Okay, I like her, baby. Okay, she tilting it. She tilting it. But yeah, it's up. It goes deep. It goes deep. It goes up, down, northwest. Okay, side to side, bounce, back to back, and forward. But the thing is, I do feel like you have to have some type of faith or some type of whatever you choose to lean on in time of need, whether that be prayer, whether that be meditation, whether that be whatever you choose, but you have that choice. You have that choice, and with you being able to have that choice, a lot of times, even though life is the way that it is, you have a choice to to shape it or break it. And a lot of times, things can be molded, and it can mold it back, like clay, and you can come back. A good thing, a train of thought, but it takes teaching, it takes unlearning, it takes understanding. I did a whole story about a while back about Ola Demure and the deities, and just African ancestry, about our first religions. About before religion came into play. A lot of times people say, well, the Bible was here before slavery. The Bible was here. Like, you have to be one of the most dumbest people to not understand that when we didn't have, they gave us God to keep us calm. That's when they got the book, and it took time to edit. King James was a homosexual. Just all these different facts you want to play into it. And the thing is, you look at, they say Trump is the second coming. How? I don't. He can't be the second coming, because if he the second coming, I got to be the third. Hell, I can tell you. And all black folks got to be in line for number one. But it's a thing. It's not saying anything's wrong or internally bad, but with what you believe text against doesn't coincide with historical facts, coincide with your ethnicity background, and coincide with your lineage of people, to understand where it benefits you and where it does benefit you at, and you don't understand those things, something is wrong with that picture. Us as black people have the accountability, the duty, and responsibility to ensure that we teach our children for the next generation that religion is definitely, and Christianity has been a construct upon us as black people, where we'll tear each other down so much. And you got people like Brandon Tatum is saying, I'm a Christian first. No. When you get pulled over in the car and the police and you're black, let me tell you something, baby. If your heart dropping your stomach like mine has before and has and probably will in the future, you understand that Christianity and prayer ain't gonna get you out of that. It didn't get Sandra Bland. It didn't get Philando Castile. It didn't help Trayvon Martin. None of that. It doesn't affect into, this is what, believe what you believe. But it needs to come with common sense too. We're black. We have a responsibility to ensure that we don't teach the same pattern over and over again. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same result, expecting a different one. It's the same result. So a lot of times it's not you, it's not the devil, it's you. You get in your own way. Don't get in your own way. Okay? Don't trip over your own feet. And when you do take accountability for that, fix that as an adult, because us blaming the devil all the time ain't gonna work. He ain't. It's okay for you to say you did wrong. It's a learning lesson. If somebody get mad at you, they don't want you to learn this and that. I mean, fuck them. But us as black people, we hold more accountability. Like, I look at the stories of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. These men passed in their 30s. And women couldn't vote. We had a slave Bible. It's different religions out there, and the thing is, we have to be able to understand and read and know, because something is coming bigger than us. Prepare for that, and religion isn't going to save us this time. I don't think so. Do you think so? I don't think so. I mean, we can pray, we can have faith, we can have meditation, but what is that going to resolve? What is it going to do? Is it going to help us? Is it going to get to the next level? Is it? Is it? Yes, God is God, but be smart. Use your brain. He gave you a brain to use. Isn't it beautiful? The experience that you're experiencing right now, hearing this, seeing or encountering or acting, those things are very great. and everyone has their own experience, and we have to be able to be real that patriarchy is real, and that a lot of times they formed and illustrated and constructed the Bible where, you know, people would stay humble, people would stay docile, especially black people. What do? You know, we go and we pray instead of voting now. You know, no, we have to do more. It's not trying to take away from your religion, but understand if you want to use your brain, use for something bigger and know that it's bigger happening. All right.